Good morning and welcome into another edition of the Roar Down with North Alabama football. Benjamin Ray and Mike Ezekiel back with you. And Mike, we've reached the final week of spring ball. It's wrapping up this week, which means we're one step closer to fall camp and one step closer to 2026 football.
That's right. Just 3 more practices to go, and really excited for Thursday, Saturday, and then next week, kind of wrapping it up on the 14th. So a lot of practices under this team's belt. The spring has been fun, but these guys are ready for the fall. They're going to transition and get ready and move on, hopefully, to fall ball here real soon, and that's going to be really exciting for this football program.
The excitement is sky high right now. Ben Bond, Megan Dye, they're in the room with us right now selling some tickets inside of Bank Independent Stadium. So every day, people rolling into campus. It's really fun to see the seats filling up on the boards that they have over here. But, Mike, today, week number 4 of doing this, I believe, we're going to go inside the trenches. New offensive line coach at North Alabama. We're going to meet him here in just a minute.
Yeah, Justice Clegg's coming in. Very successful at the JUCO level. Coached 11 All-Americans. Had 30 student athletes with either all-conference or academic honors. A very accomplished coach. We're going to ask him about his hashtag sled dogs.
We're going to learn who's what sled dogs are.
What is sled dogs? I mean, that's going to be interesting, but excited to meet him. Met him yesterday, talked to him for a little bit, and his wife was an SID, so had that instant connection there right away. And just seems like a great down-to-earth guy, and excited to kind of learn about him and his philosophies.
And then we're going to talk some defense today as well. We've got a newcomer, a new linebacker we're going to meet.
That's right. Nolan Forsch is in the house today. He's in here right now waiting on us, and he's going to be a really good interview from the Nashville area. Linebacker room is really good. We talked to Michael Johnson, the coach of that room, last week, so excited for him to be on the show, and we will get to learn about Nolan.
Well, Coach Clegg just walked in, so we'll take a quick little break, slide out, and we'll slide Coach in when we come back. Officially here with us. He was announced, I guess, yesterday as the new offensive line coach at the University of North Alabama. Comes to UNA via Iowa Central Community College. Justice Clegg is in the house. Coach Clegg, we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Number one question we always like asking, why UNA?
When talking with Coach, just the staff. There's an awesome staff, a lot of knowledge, servant leaders, and so to get lumped in with a staff like that, it was just a no-brainer, and just a competitive conference, great town for the family. I didn't see any negatives, and when I'm looking for things, you always kind of want to find a negative, and it was really hard to find a negative with the staff and the people and the families, just perfect fit.
Yeah, well, glad to hear that, and I think you'll be a great fit in Florence. And you talked about competitive, and speaking of competition, your teams at the JUCO level have been really well. Your offensive line unit last year ranked top 5 in the nation in just about every offensive category, and you've had 11 All-Americans you've coached over the years. Just talk about some of the success you've had, and just some of these guys that you've coached, and what you try to instill in them before they go on to these Division I, Division II offers.
I think with coaching, you got to go back to being a good teacher, right? And to be a good teacher, you have to have time and communication, and you have to really pour into the guys. And what I always tell them is like, I'm going to pour into you off the field. I need you to pour into me when we're on the field, you know. And so, you know, the talent, yeah, like talent's always a big thing. But if the kid's not willing to work and do the little things, and the biggest thing I'd probably brag about over the years is, you know, we also had guys that didn't miss class. We also had guys that had high GPAs. So it correlates with success on the field. So when you're able to motivate, and coaches always talk about your why, and I'm always going to hammer on your how. Like, so here's your why, but how are you going to do it? You know, and so I think we just had a lot of guys that were just very motivated about maybe they're overlooked. Maybe they didn't get the offers they wanted, or their family situation wasn't great, so they had something motivating them. And then my job is to push the how. You know, when you tell me your how, let's do it now. And then going back to a lot of the little things, it's competition. You know, and I tell our guys all the time, like anything elite in life, you're gonna have to compete for. You know, a really good job, there's gonna be 100 applicants. You know, so you have to be a guy that's not okay with a C lifestyle. You know, so that was kind of why we've had success in that room, and you can't talk about it one time. My coaching philosophy is water on cement. You know, just keep tapping on little things, and then eventually water, the softest thing in the world, will break through cement.
So we know about Iowa Central Community College. Great JUCO ball out that way. But tell us about the rest of your journey in the coaching ranks.
Yeah, you know, I originally from California, came out to the Midwest to go to school. Fell in love with the Midwest. Fell in love with like the Midwest and the South. I'm already kind of noticing very similar. You know, when it's close-knit communities, family, very religious. You know, they just care about people. You know, and so fell in love with that from coming from California to the Midwest, and then played my ball. And it's hard to cut your teeth and get a job right away. So you know, kind of had to find jobs and coach different positions and learn from other coaches. And so spent 8 years at the NEI level, you know, and I think that was really good as a young coach, because instead of just stacking cones as a young coach, you're thrown in a room, and that's your room, you know, so you have to learn quickly how to communicate with others and how to hold a same standard, but how do you rise an individual to each standard, right? Because they're all raised differently, they learn differently. So I thought the big thing for me at a young age was I was able to do that instead of just stacking cones as a young coach. So did that for 8 years, and then, you know, my buddy was the head coach. He tried getting me to apply numerous times when he was at another junior college, and then it was just, again, another perfect fit, perfect situation for me at the time.
Yeah, great journey you've been on to get you to this point, and a lot of success that you've had. I want to ask you about this. If you go to your Twitter right away, or if somebody's looking you up, the first thing they see is sled dogs.
Yes, sir.
Where did you come up with that, and what does that mean to you?
Yes, sir. So a long time ago, you know, early coaching, like I had a room, and where we practiced, that's not where the O-line did practice. I mean, we had to be all the way in the far left corner. It felt like miles away from the actual turf, you know, and we always had to get out there and run back. And then we just kind of, you know, I looked into some things like how to, I think creating a culture in the line was very important, and finding our identity and what fits us that no one else can match, you know. And when you look back, and, you know, back in the day, the Northern Territories, you know, sled dogs were used to deliver goods, and people counted on them where other people couldn't go. So what the sled dog concept is, we're going to go through peaks and valleys. We're going to do things that other people just can't do, and we have to focus on forward movement. And once we get that done, we have to come back home and do it again. And we're all tied to the same rope. We're different. We're different type of breeds. That lead dog is going to be like a center. It's going to guide the path. The middle dogs are your brutes. They're going to carry more weight. Those are like your guards. And then those back dogs are like tackles. They got to make quick turns. They got to push the pace. And so we talk about that, and then we just talk about you don't want to pull away from the group. It's going to put more strain on the group. You know, so if one dog's pulling away and the other dogs are going, it's going to make the other dogs have to work harder. So at some point, we have to either cut the rope and gain. You know, we eat that dog's food, and we actually get stronger with someone that was pulling away from the group and not on the same goals, or we pull them in, you know. But I'm tied to them, you know, and I don't go if they don't go, you know. So at the end of the day, it's just talking about life and peaks and valleys and we're going to have to do things that others just can't do at times, and we have to be okay with it. If you do the history and you look up, those are extreme athletes, and those dogs are trained elite, and they're fed elite, and they're taken care of. And so I just thought it correlated really well with who we are and how we have to do some things that people just need us, and they can't count on someone else. You know, they have to count on us. So yeah, it was kind of something they really bought into.
That is a deep and great
Yeah.
philosophy.
And I can go deeper into
perfect.
it, no doubt.
I was
No
sitting here
doubt.
thinking, oh, they must spend a lot of time on the sleds
No,
or
no.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, doing a lot of
No.
work.
That's where I
That-
went as
that
well.
is- that is
Yes.
really
Oh.
good. You can tell that has really shaped
Yep.
you.
I could spend an hour going into, and that's our first meeting. Sunday, hammered on the culture, and at the end of the day, you talk to really good O-line coaches and NFL guys. I mean, that group is different. That group is
Yeah.
close. They sit together, they eat together, and just so having something that they take pride in. And I've always said I want a room full of bow dogs, so when you bring a puppy in, he has to grow and he has to fight for his meal. Like, you don't want a room full of puppies and a bow dog comes in, he's going to naturally be soft. So, like, yeah, just creating competition and creating the nastiness, but then we're all tied to the same rope, And yeah, there's a lot to it. Yeah.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
where did you learn all this about sled dogs? Like, how did you kind of put these two things together? Because it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it all started kind of as a joke, right? Like we just started, I started saying, oh, because that's where the sled was. The sled
Okay.
was all the way out. Oh, hey, let's go, sled dogs, we got to go. And then I just like, let me look into more of this because, you see things and you always hear about the big race that they have every year.
Uh-huh.
And so then I just dove into the history. And then we have something else I just don't want to say
I got
that
you.
goes with it.
An offensive lineman
Yes.
kind of.
Oh, yeah.
We
no
like
doubt.
secrets.
No
Yeah.
doubt. So off camera, we could talk about
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Yeah, yep.
Well, and you have a great offensive line room, and I think of Gage State, for example, from last year. He had like the whole Bigfoot thing. He saw Bigfoot one time, and then everybody seems to have an interesting thing. And you have a guy like Colin Wright to talk about what you've learned about this room so far, just in your early stages of getting here, and what you hope to learn.
Very smart group, a very smart group. When our defensive staff, they've been around. They do some really good things. We're getting a lot thrown at us in spring ball, which is good. From Okie to forefront to different coverages, movements, and our guys are doing a really good job of picking things up quickly, and they do a really good job communicating together. I think it's a close group. For the big thing sometimes when you deal with transfers and portal and all that, you worry about the culture. You worry about, like, are these guys going to be selfish or whatever the case is, right? Like, you worry about the culture. That room, I came in, very close group, and they've had to deal with some things. Let's be honest. They've had to deal with some change in that room from the leadership standpoint. So I think with that, they've kind of grown together, right? They've had to deal with some things again. They've had to go through some valleys, and I think they've just they gravitate to each other instead of just gravitating to a coach. So that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed. They're fun to be around. Like, this profession, it's a tough profession on the families, right? And I always talk about being around guys that you enjoy being around. You spend so much time away from the family. Like, it's probably one of the higher divorce rates if you really look at it. And so, guys, I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to spend a lot of time, but I want to enjoy the time. I want to enjoy the people I'm around. And so far, it's been really good with the group. They come through the offices a lot, and they want to be loved, right? And again, you got to have a lot of carrot. You got to have a little stick too, right? And I think they've really accepted the stick as well when it comes to it can't be all love all the time. I have to hold you to a standard. And they were tested Monday in a meeting, and they really responded. And I said, okay, now you messed up. You gave me an elite practice when it comes to Indy and just being very consistent. And now we can't go back, And so that's probably the biggest thing. They've really responded to some adversity with some things.
So you get 5 guys that have to play together as one, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that sled dog mentality. I mean, offensive linemen truly, at all the position groups, I mean, they really are a group. And it's like the linemen always kind of gravitate towards one another. They've got their pecking order of how they sit. And the centers, guards, tackles, they are all very connected. So you come in, how do you work on kind of continuing to build that connection?
Yeah, the biggest thing is being selfless, right? We talk about that all the time, like pour into community service, pour into things that, like, be a servant leader. You know, we're going to dig a hole, you start the hole. You know, and I think when you're around people that are willing to grab the shovel and go to work as well, it makes it easier, right? And so being around a group, they understand. They've been around it. They understand, like, yeah, I could play really well, but my guard, if he doesn't, it's a bad day. And so they have to be selfless, right? They have to take pride in being a protector. You know, we talk about life things is like people are going to count on you, right? If you're a father and some things happen, well, it's not just on you; it's on your family, it's on your wife. So they're learning life skills being in an O-line room, you know. And there's been some, I think I could be wrong, but I think there's been 4 presidents that were offensive linemen, you know. And so
I did not know that.
yes,
That's a good fact.
yes.
Wow.
And then when you look at some other things, you know, 94%, and again, don't quote me on the percentage, but 94% of the human race is under 6'2". You know, so they were born to be elite. They were born to be special.
Yeah.
They're born to be, you know, a leader. And so taking pride on protecting. And when you don't do your job, someone else is going to pay the price. Well, if you don't do your job at work, in life, your wife or your children are going to pay the price. So I think that's what kind of motivates them is, and then you throw, you know, a couple slices of pizza at them and, you know, you feed them, they'll keep working, you know. So I think that's the biggest thing is they know what they're in. They understand that they're frontline soldiers and their value is to protect, you know. So
Mike Googled it. I
Yeah,
see.
a very, very quick search here. According to AI, you know, I'll dig deeper and confirm some of this. Gerald Ford was
I was
offensive
going to
lineman.
guess Ford.
Very, very
I
notable.
was going to guess Eisenhower.
Let's look him up.
Okay.
Richard Nixon apparently was a
Okay.
guard. He played tackle and guard in college, and Ronald Reagan.
How about that?
So there you go.
Yeah,
That's 4 if Eisenhower's.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I
he
could
was
have been
just-
wrong on
he
the
was just-
number.
I don't know that. I was just trying to guess one.
Yeah, I was thinking some of those early guys too, maybe. But
Yeah.
no, that's a fun trivia
That is
question
a
to
deep
come up
cut
with.
right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You might have a president in your. Is that scary?
yeah, hey, you never know.
Sitting in the room.
There's some good students in that room, so yeah, you never know.
There you go. Well, last thing for me, Coach Clegg, let's get to know you as the person. As this community will get to know you in the coming months. Tell us about what your family means to you. You talk about servant leadership. What is Justice Clegg the person?
Yeah, with coaching, when you look at the wives, they do a lot. And again, we talked earlier about just the time away from the family, and my wife Nikki, she's a former athlete, and so she understands it. But still, even though that she understands it, it's still hard, right? I got 2 little girls, Callie and Lexi, and 4 and 2, and they've always said, 2 under 2 is not about you. Let's just say it's been man defense with those 2, and one-on-one. And so right now she's working a little zone 2-on-1, and they're taking advantage of that, and it's really awesome. I'm not going to sit here and lie, right? Every guy thinks, let's have that junior, right? Let's have that junior and let's teach him how to throw a football at 3 years old, right? And it's wonderful being a girl's dad because you are so alpha with your guys in practice, and then you get home and we're watching Frozen. Callie's painted my toenails. You know what I mean? You're sitting there and it almost evens you out. And so being a father is probably my number one. Yes, I'm here to be a coach, but my whole life and education and how I planned and moved things around was all to be a good father, and it was something I lacked in life, which isn't a woe is me concept, but it was just something that was very important. My girls, I want them around the office. I was talking to them last night. They're like, when do we get to see the boys? When do we get to see the boys? So it changes you. And everybody says, though, being a parent changes. It does, and but I can't thank my wife enough for just, she has to sell the house. She has to get things moving, she's running them around. And it's just so sometimes, like, you think, like, man, like, I got to pick up my part, but she's an angel. Those little girls, like, they're going to be, they're fun. Let's just say that. The little one, Lexi, will test you. I think my wife says she's more me than anybody else, and that's what was important, looking at the staff. And, man, there's a bunch of children on staff.
I was going to bring that up with you.
A bunch of children on staff. And again, the wives, when they can get together and the kids can play and they feel like they're not going through it on their own, right? Like they have a staff of football coaches' wives that they're around, and or insignificant others that they have the support to have success, you know. And Nikki's very excited. I know the girls are going to love this area, and oh yeah, very excited to get them here. And the plan is to finally get boots on the ground in June, you know. And that's probably been the hardest in the transition is Callie going, well, where are you at? You know, can we drive to Bama? Can we drive to Bama? Like, nah, it's going to be a little trip, you know. So, they keep me motivated. They keep me going, and they almost help me breathe. When I do come home and I'm having a stressful day, now I'm sitting down and we're playing with dolls, watching cartoons. It's made me a better man and a coach. I truly believe, you know.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of us with young kids. Mike and I both. I'm a girl dad as well. It softens you up real fast.
No doubt.
I know it's important with Dearman. It's important with our athletic director, Dr. Josh Looney. So it's really part of what makes working here so great is that family feel. So we can't wait to get them here.
They're fun now.
The fall is going to be a lot of fun with all the kids rolling in. All right, last thing, and we know you got to get back to work. I know you guys have had high-level meetings. You had a little master's draft.
Yes.
Now you got to get to real work.
Yep.
I know, but hey, offensive line-wise, what can we expect when we see the men in the trenches go to war in the fall?
Very coachable. They're going to strain. They are going to. I've always said on film, I want to notice that it wasn't easy for someone to get off your block, right? Hopefully we limit some holding, calls and all that stuff. But the biggest thing is it's going to be a group that moves one. They're all tied to the rope. You're not going to see a group that looks like they're out there just being selfish. They're going to strain. They're going to be close. And I think the biggest thing you're going to notice with them is they're just watching them. You're going to tell they can care for people. They're going to put the extra little work in and care for people.
Well, we'll see the sled dogs in action soon. Coach Clegg, it's great chatting with you. Get to know you just a little bit better.
I appreciate it.
It's Justice Clegg, new offensive line coach. We're going to take a timeout. Nolan Forsha joins us next. Meeting a newcomer, a linebacker, Nolan Forsha, comes to North Alabama after spending time at Ventura College, MTSU, Kentucky Wesleyan. Now he's a Lion, and we're excited to have him. Nolan, man, appreciate you joining us this morning. And our favorite thing to start with, why UNA?
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys having me. And me and my family really took a visit here and felt like it was home. Yeah, I connected with all the coaching staff and really Coach Dearman, having a meeting with him and just really talking about the plan he has for me and he has for this team. I couldn't pass up on that. So.
Well, that's really exciting, and I think you'll be a great fit here at UNA, and I'm glad to hear that you're excited about it. You're from the Nashville area, and we were just talking off air. Not a lot of people could say they're from Nashville. Usually they just go to Nashville, but that's where you're from, and you played high school ball there, won a state title. What was it like growing up in Nashville and playing for a state championship?
Well, Nashville's pretty cool. There's always something to do there. You really can't get bored, and winning a state championship, I really feel like that teaches you a lot throughout life, not just football. I learned a lot of lessons, and really I just learned to work hard and just never stop. So.
I was looking at your numbers from Kentucky Wesleyan, 3 games, I believe, with 10 or more tackles, season high 14 in the finale as well. So what kind of linebacker mentality are you bringing here to UNA?
I'm just trying to do my job and always run after the football. Never loaf, really. That's what they've been preaching on this entire spring. So I just really just work hard, hustle, and just show your work ethic on film because the eye in the sky never lies. So just always make sure you run to the ball, and you always got to have a knack for finding the football. So.
Going back to your early days, I just asked if you were a multi-sport athlete in high school. You said no, just football. Some people do the multi-sport route, but for you, it seems like you got to focus all in on one sport, and has that helped you along the way?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I feel like in the off season, most people were playing other sports, focusing on that, but I was really just polishing up my details and always staying in and working. So those nights where people were just playing basketball and going to basketball practice, I feel like I really took the advantage and the next step on just working on the small details. Maybe it's footwork, maybe it's stretching. It can be really just that. I just feel like having those small times just really sets an advantage for me.
Tell us what it's been like with Coach Bowen, a coach who's got big-time college football experience as a coordinator and throughout his career.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Coach Bowen's great. I feel like I could just pick his brain, and I really try to in meetings and coming in there, just me and him watching film. I feel like I'm just trying to pick his brain and just learn every detail because he has so much experience at the highest level, and I mean he's really he lives for football. He's so smart. So I feel like just learning as much as I can from him in such a short period of time is just really would set it over the edge.
Talk about the linebacker room a little bit. That is going to be your position, and talk about your coach Michael Johnson playing for a guy that was a UNA Hall of Famer here. He had a Hall of Fame career as a player. Now he's a coach. Talk about what you learned from him as well.
Yes, sir. I learned so much from Coach Johnson. I feel like it means a lot that he comes back to this community and to the school, how much it means to him. Obviously, learning from him, he's played at the highest level in the NFL. So just picking his brain too. I have really 2 great coaches to learn from, and I just feel like I have a really good opportunity here, just learning as much as I can for this upcoming fall. And yeah, Coach Johnson's been great. He's always positive. I mean, he can get on you, don't get me wrong, but he's always trying to look for the positive and build you up so you can have confidence. Because I feel like if you don't have confidence, you're not going to play the best. So yeah, I just feel like picking his brain, since he's played at the highest level, he knows pretty much everything that you're going to see out there. So
Linebacker room as a whole, what are the characteristics that have stood out?
Yeah, there's a lot of different personalities in the linebacker room. I really love this linebacker room. I feel like we all have a good connection. Everybody wants to see each other succeed. Doesn't matter who it is, you're always rooting for each other. And yeah, I just feel like there's so many different personalities that makes this room just so unique.
Talk about your style as a linebacker. I know we had Coach Johnson on last week. He talked about he was more of a run stopper, but in today's game, you have more boundary-to-boundary guys who can fall back into coverage. Sometimes you have to play man coverage as a linebacker with the spread offense. How would you describe your style of play as a linebacker?
Yeah, I feel like stopping the run is very important, but my style, I feel like I'm sideline to sideline. I can run, cover pretty much anybody on the field, whether it's a running back, tight end. I feel like I'm not ever at a mismatch, so I feel like I can keep up in the pass. So that's where the game's pretty much headed now. But I mean, I feel like I can track the ball carrier sideline to sideline, and if it cuts back, I'm there to fill the gap.
Early enrollee here at North Alabama, which I know is big. You get to go through spring, but tell us a little bit about your weight room work. What kind of goals have you set on that end?
Yeah, Coach T, he's really great. He came from all these different SEC schools, knowing pretty much everything there is to do with the highest level of weight training. So I feel like my goals are pretty much set. Obviously, I'm just trying to get stronger and more explosive. But, yeah, I'm just showing up day in, day out, just trying to improve as much as I can, just focusing one day at a time.
Talk about some of the guys on the team that you've gotten close to just in this early part as you've gone through spring, some guys that maybe you hang out with outside of football and guys that you've enjoyed being around so far.
Yeah, Tango McCauley, he's one of my dogs. I really enjoyed hanging out with him. Same with Bishop, Brady Whitman, all these guys. I mean, I feel like there's so many different people on the team, and this team's really, like, so close, I feel like. There's nobody who has, like, an ego or, like, thinks highly of themselves. Or I guess people do think highly of themselves, but nobody has this cocky attitude that I'm better than you, like, that I've been on some teams that have had that. So, yeah, Tango, he's one of my boys. Bishop, play a game with them and just hang out with them. But, yeah.
What's been your favorite thing about UNA here as you've gotten onto campus?
I feel like the school's not too big, not too small. I really like that. My favorite thing, though, is really just all these sporting activities, just like being able to go, seeing all the student body, seeing all the other athletes supporting each other. Like, you go to the basketball game, you'll see football, volleyball, baseball. You'll see all these different sporting or sports teams showing up and supporting everybody.
And kind of to build off that, this is my last question. That community feel here at North Alabama, what have you learned so far about this community, and what do you hope to accomplish going into the fall and to I guess, be part of this community and to give them something to be proud of?
Yeah, I mean, this community's been very surprising. Like, coming from Middle Tennessee and all these other different schools, I feel like this community has just been so supporting and, like, outgoing. I feel like that it's really been very surprising. Like, and I'm super excited for the fall. Like, can't wait to see everybody who comes out and supports. I feel like it's going to be very good, and super excited to see everybody.
Now, I have enjoyed asking all the players that have come through on this, but Bank Independence Stadium is going to open up in the fall. First ever football game will be played September 19th. I mean, you might could get the first sack or your first tackle, something like that. But who do you think? Give us a name. First touchdown. Who's going to get the historic first touchdown?
Snap Reed.
Snap Reed?
Yes, sir, yeah. I feel like he's just been
Wide receiver, right?
Yes, sir, wide receiver. I feel like he's just been explosive and standing out on the offensive side. He came from TSU. My brother played with him, and he's just really a good person and a great athlete. So I feel like he's going to get the first touchdown.
Need to go back and watch all these and write it all down and see who calls the shot.
That's right.
Who gets the first touch. I mean, have you thought about, like, the first time you guys will get to run through that tunnel
It's going to be
in front of
great.
what should be a sold-out Bank Independent Stadium?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm super excited. Sometimes I just think about it at night, just getting chills, and, like, just can't wait. Like, super excited.
You know, Mike, we've got a lot of talk with Mike Johnson. We talk with Nolan here. A lot of players, a lot of people at this program. I mean, they're balled in. They're ready. This is exciting.
Yeah, and you drive by Pine Street every day, or the people that do, they see that something new keeps coming up with the stadium, and it's just coming together so beautifully. And just hearing Coach Johnson last week, you kind of alluded to that. If you haven't seen the clip on Twitter, go find it. I mean, incredible how the alumni feel about having an on-campus stadium, something to call theirs. And now your group, Nolan, will get to be the first to play in that stadium, and that's got to give you some goosebumps.
Yes, sir, it does. And I'm super excited. I can't wait to see everybody out there supporting. And I know we're going to put a show out there. So
What kind of team are we going to see in the fall? What kind of defense are we
we're
going
going
to
to
see
see
in
a
the fall?
fast, physical, and relentless defense in the fall. So
We can't wait. Nolan, it's been great chatting with you, getting
Yes,
to know
sir.
you, man. Welcome to UNA, and we're excited to have you here to watch you in the fall.
yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me.
We appreciate Coach Clegg and Nolan Forshaw for stopping by, and we'll be back with you next week. We're going to take it all the way to the end of summer. Keep talking some UNA football, keep the conversation rolling. So we'll be back next Thursday. Thanks, as always, for tuning in.